Hello and welcome back to my channel. On this video, I'm going to be talking about my September to be read pile. Now, if this is the first video you're watching with my monthly to be read piles, I often pick 17 books and then I add 5 live on the video from my Kindle using what I call an alphabet challenge, where I pick a random letter from the alphabet and then add 5 books from my Kindle that start with that letter. All of this adds up to 22 books a month, which I am trying to read each month in 2022. So an ambitious goal, but so far this year, in the first 8 months, I have been able to achieve it. So without further ado, these are the 17 books that I've added to my list for September. The first book is one called I Didn't Do the Thing Today, and the subtitle is Letting Go of Productivity Guilt to Embrace the Hidden Value in Daily Life. This is by Madeline Dorr, and I had never heard of this book. I saw somebody mention it on social media, and so I thought I would pick it up. I always love productivity books. I have read them widely and broadly, and so thought I would add this to my stack. I was able to get this from the library, both on audio and in physical form. So looking forward to picking that up this month. I am also going to pick up a book called Deceit by David Wolfe. This is by Jeff Carson. It is the first in the David Wolfe series. And I may have had this book on my list in previous months and I just didn't get around to it. I believe I was interested in this book. I'm just checking. It takes place, at least part of it, in Colorado. So this is partly why I wanted to pick this up. And I believe this is about a deputy sergeant, and it is basically about his ex-wife who's jealous of his upcoming promotion to sheriff. And also there's a boy who's been reported missing. So it's kind of, I think, a small town kind of mystery with a new character that I've never encountered before. So Deceit by Jeff Carson. I am also going to pick up a book that I had on my list last month that I did not get to, The Wedding Plot by Paula Munier. This is the 4th book in the Mercy and Elvis mysteries, which is basically about a retired veteran from the Army and her dog, who is also a retired veteran from the Army. And they live in a small town and solve crimes in collaboration with the local sheriff. And that's the latest in that series, and I've been wanting to pick it up for a little while. Also picked up a book from my local library called Adult Assembly Required by Abby Waxman. I read a different book by Abby Waxman and really enjoyed it, and so I wanted to pick up this one as well. And I like to kind of have something that's a little bit lighter that I can pick up throughout the month, especially when I'm doing a lot of mysteries or things that feel a little bit more dark, and this one definitely fell into that category. I also am going to pick up a book called The Island by Adrienne McKinty. And this is a book that I believe I had read a different book by this author. Yeah, she wrote a book called The Chain, which was basically about a chain of kidnappings that I also really enjoyed. And so this was her latest and I just picked it up. It is about, let's see, the synopsis reads, "It was just supposed to be a family vacation. A terrible accident changed everything. You don't know what you're capable of until they come for your family. After moving from a small country town to Seattle, Heather Baxter marries Tom, a widowed doctor with a young son and a teenage daughter. A working vacation overseas seems like the perfect way to bring the new family together, but once they're deep in the Australian outback, the jet-lagged and exhausted kids are so over their new mom. When they discover a remote Dutch island off limits to outside visitors, the family talks their way onto the ferry, taking a chance on an adventure far from the reach of iPhones and Instagram. But as soon as they set foot on the island, which is run by a tightly knit clan of locals, everything feels wrong." And the book goes on from there. So sounds interesting. Excited to pick that one up as well. I was able to get that book on audio from my local library. When I was at my local library picking up a couple of things I had on hold, I happened to run across a book called With Love from London by Sarah Geo that was in the new book area. And this is a book that is about a librarian who inherits a bookshop for a estranged mother, and it's in London. And I was like, well, that's all I really need to know. I'm picking up that book because I love books about books, and looking forward to that one. I don't think I've read Sarah Geo in the past, have definitely heard of her, and this was one that had great ratings on Goodreads, and so I wanted to check it out. I also added to my list a book called Flashback by Nevada Barr. This is the 11th book in the Anna Pigeon series, And each of these books takes place in a different national park in the United States. They're all mysteries, and I have really enjoyed watching this character evolve over time. I was able to get the most recent book, at least for me, the one that I'm on in the series, on audio from my library. So went ahead and picked that up for this month. I also picked up another Abby Jimenez book because I really enjoyed the one I read this past month, and it's called Life's Too Short. I am a little concerned because the one that was available first, this says it's number 3 in like the Friend Zone series, but it doesn't sound like I have to read the first 2 in order to enjoy this third one. I think it might just be kind of characters are all in the same town or something like that. So I'm going to go ahead and try it, and hopefully I don't get too lost or I don't miss out too much on the first 2 books in the series, and then I'll maybe pick those up at a different time. This is what happens when you're picking books up from the library. You kind of take what you can get, and so this was one of the ones I could get. So this is a brilliant and touching romantic comedy about 2 polar opposites, one adorable dog, and living each day to its fullest. When Vanessa Price quit her job to pursue her dream of traveling the globe, she wasn't expecting to gain millions of YouTube followers or shared her journey of seizing every moment. For her, living each day to its fullest isn't just a motto. Her mother and sister never saw the age of 30, and Vanessa doesn't want to take anything for granted. But after her half-sister suddenly leaves Vanessa in custody of her infant daughter, life goes from daily adventure to next level bad. The last person Vanessa expects to show up offering help is the hot lawyer next door, and of course, romance blossoms from there. So looking forward to picking that up. Also in the romance category, I am going to try again with Emily Henry's Book Lovers, which is a book I had on my list over the summer but did not get to. I have this on audio this time, and so looking forward to getting through it that way. Also adding back onto my list, Night Road by Kristen Hanna. This is one that I wanted to get to, I think, last month and didn't quite get to it. I have this out from my library in physical copy, so definitely want to get to it before it is due back. I also got both a physical copy and a audiobook copy of Riley Sager's Home Before Dark. And I've read a couple of Riley Sager books this year, which I have enjoyed. And this is one that's kind of I think a haunted house story. And so looking forward to picking this up, especially as we're shifting more into the fall. So doing a little bit of mood reading. I've already put together a bunch of things on my list for October that I'm hoping to get to as well. So look forward to that. I'm definitely going to be mood reading holiday themed books as we get closer to the end of the calendar year. I had on my list, I think last month, to read the 13th book in the Armand Gamache series, Glass Houses by Louise Penny. I did not get to it. I read the one before it, but not this particular one. And this is one about a mysterious figure who appears in Three Pines on a cold November day. So very atmospheric as we head toward the fall. And it's basically about the Armand Gamache, the detective character, who's engaging this person who's coming from out of town and looks a little bit suspicious. Okay, the next book on my list. So I am making progress with the Chronicles of the One series. If you watched my August TBR debrief, you know I read book number 2, which is something I was really hoping to get to. I put book number 3 on my list last month as well. Did not get to it, putting it back on my list this month. So this is called The Rise of Magics. It's by Nora Roberts. I ended up getting both of these books on audio because I just was not getting to them. And they're almost 500 pages long. And I needed audio. So I kind of bit the bullet and went out and got the audio versions. Hopefully that will help me to get through this month. Next book up is actually a reread for me, but one that I have almost no recollection of. This is a book called Full Disclosure by Dee Henderson. I've mentioned a couple of Dee Henderson books on this channel before. This is basically about, it's about a Midwest homicide investigator called in to help local law enforcement on a murder. And she is a really kind of trusted investigator in this space. And then she ends up partnering with, the FBI's top murder cop in the Midwest. And it is a romance, so we will see kind of what this is. I read this years ago. I don't remember. It looks like I read this maybe 3 years ago, but I recently read other books that have characters in the same series, and I wanted to revisit it and just kind of remind myself of this storyline. These 2 characters in this book show up in later books, and I don't remember their origin story at all. So wanted to go back and revisit that. I also have on my list the fourth book in the Pendergast series by, let's see, this is Doug Preston and Lincoln Child. It's called Still Life with Crows. And this is a book, first of all, it takes place in a small Kansas town. I used to live in Kansas, so I'm all for that. And it's basically about a serial killer, but maybe there's a darker force or a curse upon the land. There's an FBI special agent, Pendergast, who is the title character in this series. And he always brings in kind of like paranormal aspects to the mysteries that are in this series. And I've read the first few, but it's been a while since I've read one of these books. So I decided to pick this up as well. And then I have done a little bit of math, and if I want to get through all of the Wheel of Time books by the end of this calendar year, I have got to pick up my pace. So I have added the 7th book, A Crown of Swords by Robert Jordan, into my pile for this month. And then my last book, my 17th book, I have added The Path of Daggers, which is book 8. The Crown of Swords is almost 900 pages. Path of Daggers is a little under 700 pages. So I have got to start getting through these. I've been trying to do about one a month, but some months I have skipped, obviously, because we're in month 9 and I am on books 7 and 8. So I want to try to catch up a little bit if I can. I think it's still possible to read these this year. I'm going to do the best I can to catch up. Okay, so now it is time for me to figure out what are the books I'm going to pick from my Kindle. So first I'm gonna choose my alphabet letter with my handy container here. And I have picked the letter G. So I'm gonna go into my Kindle and sort alphabetically and then see what comes up when I look at the letter G. And doing a quick glance here, and there's plenty to choose from. Okay. So let's take a look. I have already picked out the first one that I know I'm gonna read. This is a book that's actually been on my list for a while and I've just never gotten around to it. It's a book called Gangster Land by Todd Goldberg. Todd Goldberg is the co-host of a podcast called Literary Disco, which I really love, about books. And I've always wanted to read his stuff and I just never have gotten around to it. So the first thing I'm gonna pick is Gangster Land. Okay, glancing through here to see what my options are. I'm also going to pick up a book called Godland by Liz Lenz. This is a book that is a memoir, and if I am remembering correctly, it's basically about a woman whose marriage kind of dissolves around the time of the Trump presidency, and she is kind of living in Middle America, and kind of the politics are part of what disrupt her marriage. And the subtitle of this is A Story of Faith, Loss, and Renewal in Middle America. And this is one that I've also been wanting to look at for a while. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick that one up as well. I need to look at a couple of these to see if they're in a series, because some of these I'm not sure. And I don't wanna get into the middle of a series if I don't know. Okay, so another book I'm gonna pick up is one called The Good Lie by A.R. Torrey. This looks like it is a mystery novel. I've never read this author before, but the kind of short description is 6 teens murdered, a suspect behind bars, a desperate father. In a case this shadowy, the truth is easy to hide. And it looks like there's a psychiatrist who's an expert on killers, a female main character. So I will go ahead and pick that one up as well. Okay, let's see. I've got a couple more to pick out here. I'm gonna also pick up a book called Good Morning Monster by Catherine Gildener. And this was one that came across my radar like in the last year or two. I think it's relatively recent. Subtitle is A Therapist Shares 5 Heroic Stories of Emotional Recovery. And so I'm intrigued by that. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick that up. And ooh, this is tough. There's a lot of good stuff in here. The last one I'm gonna pick up is also one that I've been wanting to read for a while. It's called The Given Day. It's a novel by Dennis Lehane. Dennis Lehane is a favorite author of mine. I actually went to a a reading he gave when I was in the Boston area. He was at a local library, and then I ran into him once at the airport when I was at Boston Logan, because I used to live in that area. This is a book that is the first in a series. Let's see. It is an unflinching family epic that captures the political unrest of a nation caught between a well-patterned past and an unpredictable future. It is a, let's see, novel of American history, tells the story of two families, one black, one white, swept up in a maelstrom of revolutionaries and anarchists, immigrants and ward bosses, Brahmins and ordinary citizens, all engaged in a battle for survival and power at the end of World War I. You might know Dennis Lehane from a number of things that have been adapted into films, like Gone Baby Gone is a good example, Shutter Island is another good example, and I've read a lot of his stuff that's more contemporary, but I've never read stuff of his that's kind of getting more historical, so I'm going to go ahead and pick that one up as well. And I think that is my 5. So looking forward to all of these books that I have on my pile for September. I'd love to know what you're reading in the next month. If you want to add anything into the comments below this video, please feel free to do so. And I'll be back at the end of the month to let you know what I was able to read in the month of September 2022. Thanks for watching.